They knew nothing of this country west of the Alleghenies, these first settlers. The land had been remote as the African jungle. Only a few men daring to penetrate, to explore, to finally emerge with stories of abundant game, of lush lands which awaited only axes for clearing. One of these men was a frontier scout, forever challenged by the unknown, forever accepting that challenge. Into his hands, these settlers were delivering their lives, their fortunes.
Boone, are you aware we're still being watched by Indians?
It's the Indians I don't see that I worry about, Colonel.
Yet you still insist on indicating the distances to our settlement, leaving a reference point to any thieving savage in need of a horse.
Well, any Kentucky Indian needing a man-made sign won't be too bothersome to us. Chances are he'll be sticking close to the village helping the women. This trail's for whites. In the summer's end, this man-made road won't look like a human hand has touched it in spots.
By summer's end, Captain Boone, there will have been a dozen settlers' trains on this road, 500 men following us. You won't find a blade of grass with room enough to grow.
500 following us. You might ask him how come it took us 3 months to get 15 families with enough gumption to go on this trip.
Well, I wouldn't get the colonel's fur up with a question like that, Simon.
You know, Dan, the further we hack our way on, I'm thinking you should have been elected colonel and him the captain.
Two things the colonel's got ease my mind. One, he's an honest man, and two, he's giving you the best he's got in him. I don't worry too much about a man that don't stint on what he's got to give.
Jemima Boone, you got nothing better to do than pester a fella.
You just got to look into serious, Flanders Calloway. You sure that snake's going to get along with the toads, little brother?
Not supposed to get along. This here's for them to eat.
Well, suppose the snake eats the toads.
Have me a snake instead of toads, I guess.
Under a grant to seek and settle new land, these frontiers people were prepared for hardships. Their only known enemy, the land. The widely scattered small groups of Indians, a nuisance threat rather than a problem. They could not have foretold a shot was to be fired at a far-off place called Lexington, that the very ground over which they were passing would be renamed by the Indians. It was soon to be called the Dark and Bloody Ground.
Blackfish is counting heads. I don't think he's too happy with the strength of this party.
We won't ask Blackfish to risk his braves without help. Tell him we expect no action until the Cherokees join up. And Brown, if his young bucks sneak in to make off with horses or one or two women down there, we'll have no objections. Keeping a potential enemy off balance is good military practice, Lieutenant, when war is imminent. Rebellion in this case.
Great Adventure, brought to you by Pepto-Bismol with protective coating action, and by McLean, the new toothpaste with the tingling taste.
Stir a wind threw you off, I reckon. Good excuse as any.
A little high on the shoulder. I'd say you'd go maybe a quarter of a mile.
Looks spry enough to go 5 or 6.
Well, now, I'll just bet you the toting back that we find him this side of that creek.
You got her center's wagered.
All righty.
Hunting party. More'n a day back.
No Shawnee moccasin made that.
Riding boot. Like them fancy soldier boots the colonel wears.
You make them beats, Flanders?
I kind of been keeping my hands busy.
Ooh, they're right purty.
Have them you want.
Oh, I thank you kindly.
I've been throwing them away, I guess.
You want to put them on me? First present I ever got from a boy.
I said I've been throwing them away.
Like a fine buck, Captain. Yeah, he's young and fat. He'll be mighty good eating. Picked up some day-old signs west of here, Colonel. Party of Shawnees. But they had a soldier traveling with them. British or French officer, I'd say, by the heel and toe he was leaving behind.
A prisoner?
No, I'd say he was moving along on real friendly terms.
British officer could well be overseeing the treaty terms they made with these western tribes.
Well, I find it mighty peculiar he'd pass by us, not stop in and say hello to some of his own folks.
What point are you making, Captain?
Well, Simon and me could maybe catch up with him 2 or 3 days, find out who this fella is, what his business is.
Let's not read wild fancies into a single footprint. If there is a British mission moving among these savages, it should bring you some small comfort. There's a restraining hand nearby. Possibly a few less horses stolen from this party.
Colonel, in these parts, it's a good idea to leave nothing behind you don't understand.
Our strength in numbers is a guarantee against thieving Indians, Boone. Every man here has a function to perform. Now, to permit any haphazard wandering around would decrease that strength, someone possibly suffering because of it. So without a better reason, I can't permit your prolonged absence. Let's get on with it.
I have some cold meat waiting for you and Simon, Captain.
Oh, thank you, Miss Calloway. As soon as we get that buck dressed, we'll pitch right into it.
Ma, why was Captain Boone afraid to bring his wife along?
Wasn't afraid, Francis. Trip would just be too hard for a woman expecting a newborn.
You should have left Jemima behind, too. She's getting to be the pestiest thing alive.
Might Pa kill that?
Be real tender, all right. Dan, be too bad if we was depending on that boy of yours for meat.
Hello, son. I hear your snake and your toad don't seem to mind being together.
They get along.
Well, I'm going to add something to your collection. On the way back, this little fella took me for one of his kinfolk.
Thanks, Pa. What's he eat?
Oh, roots and berries mostly. At times, to stay alive, he'll eat whatever's handy. It's kind of like us, James. To stay alive, we kind of take the things that God places here for us. I reckon in the plan of things that there's a bigger purpose in our staying alive than the things that we have to kill for our table.
What does purpose mean?
Well, purpose means a reason for being. And most everything has one, James. Now, a forest here that we have to cut down to get through means that we have to learn to live in a forest. And it just might be that learning that prepares us for something bigger. You see, one thing of purpose to another. With us sitting here, mighty important to it all. Now, I agree that buck that Simon's dressing is important too. But it gets born and it eats and it mates and it dies. Can't do nothing else. Can't build. Can't leave anything behind. So you kind of see that, well, maybe it was meant to be food if it means that a man and his family will stay alive.
Just thinking. If he eats deer tonight, well, it sure won't be the way things are supposed to be. Him so little.
We're moving again, son. We best get back.
You better try harder than that.
No, just no place to step.
All right, Elizabeth, your turn.
Okay.
Well, I gotta put my foot down someplace, Captain Boone.
I know how to do it.
Without crunching one single leaf?
Well, go ahead. Get out there. Go on.
But I could have done it that way.
Well, I reckon anyone could who stopped to think. And right there is the first rule of living in the wilderness. Never stop thinking. The man who stops thinking is the man who stops living. So think. Suppose you're captured by Indians. If you fight to get free, you die. Jemima?
You're glad to be captured. The Indian knows that you're glad to be captured because he knows that you'd rather live as an Indian. You're hoping that they'll adopt you into the tribe.
Oh, I wouldn't hope that at all. The Indians think you do, silly.
If you think, you stay alive. Give time for your father and your brothers to follow.
Suppose you can't find the trail.
But now every living thing in the wilderness leaves a trail, Flanders, including a man. Now, I don't say you can't drag a foot here and there so to speed things up. But a man can no more help leaving a sign he's been by than a beaver can.
Flanders, Francis, Elizabeth, while the lamps are lit, fetch your books. I think a little less games in the evening for the children would divert their attention to their education.
Well, now, if education is the learning of things to fit one for a life, Colonel, I can't see we've been playing any games.
You never have nothing else to do?
You want to go for a swim in the lake before we be setting out?
I got nothing to swim in. No swimming clothes.
But like the saying goes, you cross a bridge when you come to it. That's what I'm calling you.
No such thing.
Got you watching me all the time.
Flitting around me, I gotta see ya.
Act just like my pa home from a long trip. Hardly wait to get his hands on my ma's hair to stroke it.
Oh. Jemima, you listen.
I'm listening, Flanders.
I won't be no boy forever. I got plans to do things, like my pa. I near old enough to clear my own land. Maybe I have to stay with my pa for this year, but next year, Jemima, next year, if you're willing.
Didn't mean to cut it so fine. Come out of there faster than I'd figured.
You've been standing there all the time, Simon? Seeing us...
You might say I've been in this vicinity, but keeping my eyes on him. Supposed to be seeing something? The smart thing for you to do is to dress someplace else. Your paws will be here in 2 shakes.
Just the one?
Sorry to say that be the case.
Sorry.
Yeah, Shawnee, Colonel. When they come to trade, there's 2 of them. When they're stealing horses, there's 3 or 4. And when they're out for scalps, there's 4 and up.
And when there's only one?
Sent to Watts to report back. Maybe to get a correct count on the number of rifles we mustered.
And the question is, who's interested in knowing how much of a fight we can put up?
Isn't that reading an awful lot into one dead Indian bent on mischief?
Well, I don't read anything but what's placed in front of my nose. And right now, there's one dead Shawnee brave that needs explaining. Just like that soldier boot we found.
Well, I have no objection if you scout on ahead for a few miles.
Well, when you're looking for Indian answers, you're talking about 200 miles and maybe 5 or 6 weeks.
5 or 6 weeks? Why, we'll have long reached the banks of the Kentucky.
Yeah, you go on with the party. Simon and me will come in when we get some fair idea how we're being thought of. Miss Calloway, I'd appreciate it if you'd look after my young'uns a spell.
I'll take good care of them, Captain.
Thank you.
Captain Boone, I have told you that I will not weaken this party. I have told you that our strength lies in... You're in charge of scouting, Captain Boone. If you think it's necessary, we'll continue without you. Madam?
First sensible word I've heard from him since we started.
When you have an upset stomach, take soothing Pepto-Bismol and feel good again fast. Most stomach upsets are due to irritation from acid, food, or nervous irritation. Irritation can cause indigestion or nausea and also distress in the lower tract. But soothing Pepto-Bismol has protective coating action that stops stomach irritation at contact. Look, here's a leading alkalizer dissolved in water as directed, a plain antacid tablet dissolved in water, and here's Pepto-Bismol. Now, watch for the coating action. No protective coating here, none here. But Pepto-Bismol has protective coating action that works in your stomach to stop stomach irritation at contact, soothe away stomach distress, and restore control to lower tract. Quick as a wink, you're in the pink with soothing pink Pepto-Bismol.
No dispute, just passing by.
Probably no man was more well known to the Kentucky Indian than Daniel Boone. For 5 years he had scouted the unknown wilderness west of the Alleghenies, and the Cherokee, the Shawnee, The Wyandot knew him as a fair man and admired him as a hunter without peer. But Boone also knew the Indian mind as probably no other. And in this summer of 1775, on the eve of the bloodiest Indian war in history, the hostile undercurrents were unmistakable. Boone was still unaware the British saw his settlement on the banks of the Kentucky as a menace to their northwest lines in the event of rebellion. He was a man of simple thoughts, but of complex instincts. Logic pointed to a problem building in this new land. Instinct guided him on to probe for an answer.
There's your soldier boot, Dan. British.
Shawnee and Cherokee Council. That's sure a day I never thought I'd see.
He wonders why he has to have a Shawnee village as a gathering point.
Tell him that's where the supplies will be arriving. The guns and powder. Tell him the Shawnees will be welcoming the Cherokees as blood brothers.
Watli Diwa, Pa Ute Tewa, Pa Oga Ishtawa.
Tagwale, What's the delay?
He wants to know if your offer of a horse for every scalp extends to women and children.
We'll pay the horse for any white scalp. Child or adult, male or female, from the day I give the word.
Maybe the colonel was right. British are moving. Out patching up the treaties.
We still can't see why they're moving. Don't include a visit to us.
Tell him there's a bonus of 20 horses for the leader of the settler party by the river.
Boone or Calloway?
Either.
Yoganash, Yadejisa, Boone, Calloway.
Onila! Whatever that redcoat's saying, he's sure not making them Cherokees unhappy.
Una! Gawa!
Topping it off with entertainment in our honor.
Yes, I see I won't have any appetite tonight.
It's a dirty game, Lieutenant, but it'll be your duty to smile.
Please, offer them something. Buy me from them. Please. Oh, please. God, please.
Tell him to get on with it.
Jagway, Yexa. Yexa. My brother.
If he just had the courage to laugh at him, he might have a chance.
Six weeks of travel. You saw no build-up in Indian forces. Two British officers talking to the heads of the Cherokee and the Shawnee tribes. A white man killed in view of these officers. A man, incidentally, who might have been guilty of atrocities to the tribes. And you now see a conspiracy against a small river settlement. That about sum it up?
Colonel, no right-thinking man would be plowing fields and building cabins before a stockade goes up.
Nature dictates when the fields shall be cleared, the seed sown, Captain Boone, not I. It was a choice between the stockade, the clearing of the land, the planting of crops, and cabins for shelter.
We can live on meat like we've been doing. We can live in wagons like we've been doing. We can live if we do it behind a stockade.
Now, wait a minute, Captain. For near 15 weeks, we've been living off of game meat. For 15 weeks, we've been sleeping in the wagons. Well, I got no hankering to see the first snowfall without proper heated cabins.
Boone, I think I can quote your own estimate on full-scale Indian attack. Now, you yourself stated that the Kentucky tribes are scattered into small groups. That they would have to be assured of from 6 or 8 to 1 superiority before they'd think in terms of all-out fighting. Well, we muster 50 rifles. That would mean a force of, from 300 to 400 fighting braves. Now, in all of Kentucky, do you think you could find that amount of Indians organized and sufficiently supplied with guns, powder, and shot?
Maybe you didn't hear what I said, Colonel. If the Cherokees come up from the south and join the Shawnees, you'll have your 300 or 400 braves and maybe 5 or 6. And it doesn't take a very far-thinking man to see the British supplying them with guns and powder and shot once the colonies declare their independence.
Assuming the colonies want their independence.
Well, now, Colonel, doesn't it seem strange to you that not one settler has followed us here from Virginia? It just might be, without our knowing it, that the British have cut off travel west of the Allegheny Pass.
Well, Boone, until an overt act is made against us, we'll have to assume that the Crown is also loyal to its subjects. Now, it's my judgment that if we lend all of our efforts to the building of a stockade and then get caught by those first snows, without cabins, without potatoes, without corn for the winter, well, that would risk a siege of sickness, might even wipe us out. But I'll leave it to a vote whether shelter for the winter and crops shall take precedence.
Well, a warm cabin and a table without venison gets my vote.
All right, Colonel. I sure hope you're a lot smarter man than I think you are. You're sure getting to look like your ma. More every day, Jemima.
She says I'm looking like you. Wonder who'd believe.
Well, now, since she's a sight prettier than me, I think you better settle for my opinion.
Will we be working a parcel of land after the fort's built, Paul?
Well, I guess I'll be talking it over with your ma. See if it's here that she wants to stay. I wish I was a smarter man, Jemima.
You're smart enough for me, Paul.
No. Smart man don't go looking for things he knows don't exist. He sort of knows what's on the other side of the mountain. Don't waste time looking.
Always looks the same the other side. Lots of trees and rivers.
Yeah. It's always been that way.
Good night, Paul.
Good night.
Jemima! You come back, you hear? You have to have a man with you.
Just didn't see any around, Flanders.
Oh, Wallop, you're sure you go past the point? Jemima! Talk sense to them sisters of mine.
Jemima? Yeah? You all gonna marry Flanders? I've spoken for yet. Besides, don't see it no business of the boy's sister's to ask. That's where we're going. My fault. Oh, for heaven's sake. Lay out on first. I can't get it.
Tip her over.
I blame this on complacency.
Madam, I have never sanctioned children playing on the river.
You didn't have to. They heard you say time and again the Indian respected our strength.
That's Jemima's, the one I gave her. Picked up their trail a quarter of a mile downriver. Shawnee, 4 of them.
We'll use horses. We'll fan out east and west from the lower
Colonel, do you
falls.
mind if I look for my daughter in my own fashion?
Of course.
Captain Boone, can I go along with you?
Now, you get along with your father, boy.
Please, Captain Boone. Jemima and me. Well, I mean...
All right. You better go with the colonel so he doesn't get lost chasing his tail.
I'm thinking the same.
Francis, straighten up! They'll leave you behind an axe in your head for sure. You keep carrying on.
That's Jemima's dress. Piece of it.
There's enough Indians in that party for one of them to be bringing up the rear.
He'd have seen it too.
And leaving it for us just might mean that they'll be circling back and heading through that high canyon. Well, it's a gamble if we cut east, but we just might head them off before they reach.
Show him you're willing to keep up. Smile at him.
A man's life can depend on balance. The life in a man's hair depends on balance, too. Nature's perfect balance of oil and moisture. Greasy hair dressings upset it, slick hair down. Alcohol tonics tip it, dry hair out. But Brill Cream is perfectly balanced to give your hair the natural look.
Brill Cream, Brill Cream, Brill Cream, a little dab will do ya.
She's got it. He sees it. McLean's did it. She's got it. He sees it. McLean's did it. New McLean's toothpaste gets teeth irresistibly white. The very taste tells you it's whitening. McLean's tastes lively, tastes dazzling, tastes tingling. You even feel it's whitening. She's got it. He sees it. McLean's did it. New McLean's toothpaste gets teeth irresistibly white. McLean's.
The Great Adventure will return after station identification.
Supposing they just don't come along, Captain.
Well, we'll wait a proper time, then go back to the trail we've been on. I wouldn't worry too much about that rifle, Flanders. First shot them braves here, they'll kill those girls.
How are we getting them free?
Hey, you, Wani.
Wani?
Hey, you, Wani Gunsin. Hey, you, Esta Dawi. Inadula, Sagwali, Ajia.
Iya, Wamadula, Ajia.
I offered him a horse for each girl. He says he'd rather trade the girls for me. But turning down horses just to parade me through their village don't make sense.
Inadula, Ajia.
Maybe it's a trick, Captain. They'll have both us and the girls.
No, when a Shawnee trades, he'll cut his hand off before he'll back down on a deal. Yeah, Inadula.
Ayuo.
Get them girls out of here without a fuss. Go on, get them out of here. Always enjoy a man with a sense of humor.
It's a bit early for that, isn't it?
They captured a French fur trader down by the river. I watched them tie him to his own canoe and set fire to it.
And he'll have a better time than some I've seen.
Oh, I only mentioned it to explain the trick.
Quite a while, man. Now, that's right. Good aim there, youngster. I bet you could do that again. Oh, yes, you can. That's a very nice
reception. 20 horses is agreed.
20 horses? That's a right powerful price, General.
Captain Hanning. If you care to step inside.
Go on, Sagwali.
Get your breath a moment.
Yeah, it is kind of noisy out here.
I hope your trip wasn't too unpleasant, Captain.
I can recall being more inconvenienced. I can't figure my worth at 20 horses, though.
I found it a most effective offer in disposing of enemy officers in Indian country.
Enemy? Now, I thought we were on the same side, Captain.
There's a bit of a conflict at Lexington, Massachusetts, which leaves us on different sides. It's open rebellion now, Captain.
Take it our settlement kind of figures in your plans?
Within 6 weeks, the United Cherokee and Shawnee nations will leave a smoking rubble where you're now building cabins. And then we'll push them eastward into Virginia. That should give your Congress something to think about.
I gotta admire a man who can get a Shawnee and a Cherokee to sit down together in one spot.
That has been a problem. However, they're coming around. Another month should see them concentrating on white scalps instead of their Indian brothers.
Does that offer of horses include women's scalps and their babies?
I know you have children at the fort, Captain. I'm sorry that the rebellion must be fought in this fashion. We don't seem to have any other choice.
Yeah, custody.
Well, the best I can offer you is a death more swift than they expect.
Our duty is to watch again, I suppose.
Yes. I'll join you in a drink first.
entertainment. You fellas ought to be more careful who you're swinging at.
We charge la ciudad.
He wants to adopt Boone into the tribe. No, Captain, you can't interfere.
Tiblo unjaja.
Hey, away. Sutaga, suwasi. Blackfish.
Wana, we jiapi. Shalloway.
Nice. Naming him Sheltowee, Big Turtle. Blackfish is going to make him his son. Well, they're going to take him down to the river and scrub all that white blood from him.
Do they really believe he'll turn against his own people?
For the honor of being Blackfish's son, they probably think he cut his own mother's throat. Trying to escape without his clothes?
At no period in our frontier history was a man so tested against the wilderness. Starting without clothing or weapons, Boone faced a 100-mile trek back to the settlement. He was racing against time, the Indian buildup. He had to tell the settlers of the revolution in the East that they were marked for massacre, that now strong stockade walls alone would make the difference between living and dying.
It's Boone! It's Daniel Boone! He's back!
Each pin sunk at least 4 feet with a good firm base of crushed rock. I'm confident that our grandchildren, well, even their children, will see these walls still standing in their time.
Well, you got maybe a month to finish, Colonel. Good sound logs in place lasting our time will do the job.
We'll continue working night and day. We'll be ready. Oh, incidentally, I've decided on a name for the settlement. How does Fort Callaway sound to you?
Seems to fit the tongue.
Yes, I thought so too, but I was persuaded that Boonesborough would be more appropriate. Thank you for my daughter's lives, Captain Boone. What's that?
Who is she?
Found a burnt wagon about 10 miles northwest. Followed her signs to Tree Holler where she'd crawled to hide. She ain't spoke a word yet.
Ma'am? Ma'am? Can you tell us where you're from? Detroit, that's a long way.
We wanted to be with the colonies, not British.
Just try a little of this, ma'am.
They stopped us. I thought they were friendly. My babies. My husband. All dead.
She'll be dead by morning. You say you found her about 10 miles northwest of here?
Well, I'd say about a mile, give or take. As near as I could guess, that wagon was attacked by about 50 braves.
50 braves? And it's not the numbers that matter, Colonel. There's Cherokee mixed in here. Looks to me like the Cherokee and the Shawnee have come to a good, sound understanding.
You mean we'll have company sooner than we expected?
Yeah, I think we can forget about fancying up the stockade. How soon can we get the south wall up?
Well, most of the pins have already been cut. We just set them into the earth. I'll see things get speeded up. Men!
Good to see you again, Dan.
Good to be here, Simon. Shawnee and Cherokee. One will be trying to outdo the other when the time comes. Boonesborough, the first western outpost of the new colonies. And here, very shortly, a handful of people would sustain the longest and most brutally waged Indian siege in American history.
Want a wake-up electric shave? One that gives you a lift? Makes you feel alive? Well, get Menon Prop. The prop-up, wake-up free electric. Menon Prop is formulated to prop up beards for a close, smooth shave. With any shaver. And Prop gives you a cool, wide-awake feeling. Get Prop. The prop-up, wake-up free electric from Menon.
Meet Big Bob Pettit, basketball star St. Louis Hawks. Bob knows a big man can have a big perspiration problem. So he uses Menon Break, Big Break, the deodorant for big protection. Look, ordinary roll-ons, stroke for stroke, give this thin line protection. But Brake has a big roller top that rolls on this wide protection a big man wants. Try Menon's Big Brake for big protection.
Before previewing next week's great adventure, here is Gerald Goff, a teacher and member of the National Education Association, with a postscript on tonight's story.
There was one notable difference between Daniel Boone and many of the other great frontiersmen of American history. Most of the frontiersmen were loners, men with a thirst for adventure that kept driving them further and further into the unknown West and away from civilization. But Daniel Boone was a family man. He saw in the frontier an opportunity to sink roots and build a home where his children could grow and prosper. He saw the promise of rich, fruitful land, and he was willing to fight for it. Ironically, it is recorded that one of his early ambitions had been to settle in Florida, but his wife didn't want to live there. Perhaps if Mrs. Boone hadn't felt so strongly, this chapter of American history might have turned out differently.
Next week, watch for the exciting conclusion of our story on The Great Adventure.
You really expect Blackfish to swallow that I killed his son trying to escape?
To the door.
It's a letter here to my wife. Could you see that she gets it?
I've already explained to the chief what happened, Captain, extending to him our regrets concerning his son's murder.
Well, you have your Indian War, Governor Hamilton.
I sincerely hope that Boone is never taken alive.
Boonesborough. Join Peter Graves, Andrew Duggan, Arthur Honeycutt, David McCallum, and other stars as they fight one of the bloodiest and most spectacular battles of America's early history. Next week on The Great Adventure.
Brushing teeth is like practicing the piano. There's one correct technique, up and down. That's why Sunbeam created an electric toothbrush that automatically brushes the right way, up and down, 1,800 times a minute. The new Sunbeam cordless hygienic toothbrush. Just 35 seconds brushing with the Sunbeam gets teeth really clean, free of film. These diagrams show how clinical tests turned out. On the average, 35 seconds brushing by hand left film like this. But 35 seconds brushing with the Sunbeam Hygienic left teeth looking clean as this. Laboratory photographs prove it. Just 35 seconds brushing with the Sunbeam gets teeth really clean. And it's rechargeable. There's no electric cord to worry about. Give your family this better protection against decay. You know you can trust the name Sunbeam.
The Great Adventure has been brought to you by the all-new Sunbeam Cordless Hygienic Toothbrush, Nabisco, makers of quality crackers and cookies, and Men and Brake, the big deodorant for big protection.